Hi everyone. It's really lovely to be able to join you for the opening of Aboriginal Screen-Printed Textiles from Australia's top end. To begin with, I would like to pay my respects to the Indigenous people of Darwin, which is the place from where I'm making this recording in the Northern Territory. The Larrakia people are the traditional owners of the land here in Darwin, where I have the honour of living and working. And it's absolutely beautiful, beautiful country and waters, oceans. I also would like to acknowledge that the Larrakia people retain the sovereignty of the lands of which I live, and lands which their ancestors have cared for tens of thousands of years, and that this sovereignty remains unceded. I also would like to pay my respects to the Tongva people, past, the present, and those emerging Tongva people on whose beautiful country the Fowler Museum is located, and indeed UCLA in the Los Angeles Basin region. So my respects to all Tongva people. I also would like to acknowledge the artists with whom I have worked in the development of this exhibition and the cultural groups from which they originate, which include the Tiwi peoples, the Kuninku people, the Kunwinku, the Nguwamiri, and the Nungi Kurunkur. And thank you to one and all for sharing your knowledge and your art with me, and more broadly now with our audiences that will be visiting this exhibition that documents Aboriginal screen-printed textiles.
Thank you, Joanna, for those land acknowledgements. And hello, everyone. Welcome to our program today. My name is Bianca Collins. I'm the Curator of Public Programs for the Fowler Museum at UCLA. We're so pleased that you've joined us today or tonight, depending on where it is you're tuning in from around the world. The Fowler is proud to present this online opening program for our exhibition opening this Sunday, December 5th, Aboriginal Screen-Printed Textiles from Australia's top end. This truly stunning exhibition features over 70 distinctive screen-printed textiles made by contemporary artists at 5 Aboriginal-owned art centers in Northern Australia, known as the Top End. The presentation is organized around the individual art centers, revealing the creativity and innovation of Aboriginal artists and their sources of inspiration. The textiles pay tribute to the resilience and beauty of Aboriginal Australia and celebrates the enduring connections between peoples and their lands. Today, we will hear from exhibition curator Joanna Barrkman, Fowler's senior curator of Southeast Asian and Pacific arts. She will offer a virtual walkthrough of the exhibition, including a sneak peek at an exhibition video that traces the screen printing process and the ways in which artists translate ancient painting techniques into new media. We would like to acknowledge that major support for the exhibition is provided by the R.L. Shep Endowment Fund, Martha and Avram Blooming Exhibition Fund, and the Australian government through the Australia Council. Generous funding is also provided by the Australian Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade, the Fowler Textile Council, the Ethnic Arts Council of Los Angeles, the Anne and John Summerfield Fowler Museum Fund, the Anna Walt Center for the Study of Regional Dress Fund, the Australian Consulate General, Los Angeles, Mary Hearn and David Keenan in memory of Barbara K. Hearn, Andrew Adelson, Connie McWright, and Carrie Smallwood. All right, let's get this show on the road. First, we'll hear special greetings from the artists at the art centers represented in the exhibition.
Hello, my name is Janet Marwar. My language is Kuningo. My country is Muega, and it's inland.
My name is Michelle Latwayu, Woody Minipini. Good afternoon from the TV Island at Malacca State Bay, Melbourne Island, north of Darwin, and would like to acknowledge traditional owners, land group of Wulluranku community on this land that we're standing on.
My name is Kieran Carrickful, an artist from Australia. I'm an Indigenous Australian. Awangago ni the artist kini exhibition Poari Aboriginal Screen-Printed Textiles from Australia's top end. Welcome Gimbir Awanagor yar Dergidi Irim Gini yar Workamangago. My language group is Ngangumiri. There are over 200 different indigenous languages spoken in Australia.
Hello, my name is Gabriel Maura. I'm from Gumbalanya, living in Australia, in the top end of Western Arnhem. And my language group is Gunwingu.
The art center called Jilamara represents painting in our TV language.
I am a painter, printer, and textile artist, and work at Marapan Arts, an art center located 250 kilometers from Darwin in the north of Australia. Marapan is a local word for sand palm, which is a palm for weaving. In our culture, only women can weave.
Well, at the moment I'm inside the screen printing at Inyalak Art Center. It's named after the Inyalak Hill, which is we call Inyalak long-term dreaming. It's a fish.
I'm so excited to, to work, do my design with Gongora and Namoroto. Before I was doing painting with bark. My husband showed me how to paint Dolapo. And after that, I came and do lino printing and screen printing with design, Gungura and Namoroto.
The TV artist is so proud and happy the exhibition to showcase the textile from the old days, long time ago to today, the next generation.
I am really proud and happy to be exhibiting in America, and in particular at the Fowler Museum in LA. Thank you to all the museum staff for inviting us, and thanks to Joanna Barrkman for creating the exhibition.
I think it would be a great opportunity for some of our screen printing staff to be on exhibition in Los Angeles. So we can then show the outside world what's the textile mean to us, screen printing, and even though that it's been adopted from the rocker onto the screen.
Would like to say thank you for inviting us to share our TV culture and design through art painting and textile from the old days to today. Next generation, even though we didn't get to travel.
Joanna Mamanta. Yeah. Good morning, my friend. And this design done by Jean Baptiste, and yeah, Jalama is name of the screen, and we got American color for you guys. And I'm Alan, that's Carol, and Larissa.
I would like to see them like indigenous, Aboriginal women. To see them, or they come here to see dialogue women, Papara working. So we like talk about what they're doing and how we're doing here, Papara.
We recognize First Nation people from your country and thank you to them for sharing our culture in their homeland.
We are hoping to be able to visit the exhibition in 2022 and meet you all. We are also looking forward to meeting local indigenous people in LA and sharing cultural stories with them. Thank you and enjoy the exhibition.
Thanks to the people of Los Angeles, especially the indigenous people of American Indians, the past and present, and we want them to see some of our textiles in the exhibition, and we can get all the indigenous getting together, learn from each other and sharing the culture. A very special thank you to the people of Tongva tribe, the past and present, and it would be great for them to meet the Tongva people and welcome us to be on their land and sharing our knowledge and understanding with Iñala.
Bobo.
Thank you, Mamanta, and stay safe for this COVID-19 and look after each other. Mana, Nepang.
Yo chamiri mama.
Numpangi Mamata.
Thank you, goodbye and goodbye.
At this point, I would like to share my screen and work through a short presentation that talks a little bit about the exhibition, both its development and then its presentation. So here we are. Aboriginal Screen-Printed Textiles from Australia's Top End is an exhibition that presents screen-printed textiles created by 5 Indigenous art centres across the top end of Australia. And these art centres are all in very remote communities, Indigenous communities, including Tiwi Design, Jilamara Arts and Crafts, Iñalak Arts and Crafts Aboriginal Corporation, Bapara Women's Centre, and Merapan Arts, Culture and Language Corporation. And here you can see images, Tiwi art, Jilamara, Iñalak, Bapara, Merapan, all the places where the artists actually create the artworks that are on display in the exhibition that you will be seeing. I also wanted to make mention, though, that the process of developing the exhibition has been a collaborative one with artists and arts workers from these 5 art centres. And everyone's been involved at different steps of the process in identifying objects to be included in the exhibition, the order in which they might be displayed, in developing the text that interprets some of the textiles, and also in creating several videos that you will encounter when you walk through the exhibition. To that end, we hosted a curatorium in 2019 in Darwin at the Charles Darwin University, and it was facilitated by myself and Nadine Lee, who you can see here standing at the end of the table. And Nadine is a Larrakia, a woman who also came to Los Angeles and worked as an intern on the development of this project. But this opportunity to host the curatorium brought all the artists together to consider and to confer. And it was a great process because people really enjoyed talking to one another, looking at all their different art textiles that have been produced from each art centre. So with these 5 art centres, just to show the location of where they are in these remote and regional areas, this of course is the continent of Australia, and this little region up here, or up in this part, is often referred to as the top end. It's a colloquial term, and here on the other side, in this larger insert map, we can see the indication of the 5 regions from which the art centres come. So that includes Wurrumiyangu, Milikapadi, Gumbalanya, Maningrida and Nayu. This area spans some over 1,000 kilometres, so it is vast in its own way. So the process of creating screen-printed textiles involves the creation of a stencil, whereby 1 or more stencils are used to build up an image. And using relatively simple equipment, such as a screen, a squeegee and a large table, sometimes an oven to heat set the equipment, the print, the designs are what we consider large format designs that are repeated down the length of the cloth. And part of the impact is that repetition of image. In the printing of the cloths, as you can see in this image, 2 printers are required to print from selvage to selvage. And often the tables that are printed at the different art centres are approximately 6 to 8 metres in length. Designs are printed on cotton, cotton jersey, poplin, silk and linen, and water-based inks are the most common form of ink to transfer the image. However, fibre reactive dyes can also be used. And once printed, whether with 1, 2 or more stencils, once the image is created, the cloths are taken and placed in large ovens where the ink is heat set, so it's fixed permanently. This paper stencil, or paper design, shows how something can be, it's called a cut through of a design. It shows the key element of the design, and then how we can see on the left where it's printed how it can repeat itself. So in this instance, it's not just a straight line from top to bottom, but actually the design itself interlocks, the upper and lower sections interlock to create that extended repeat. In this instance, we can see 4 film positive transparencies, which are actually on display in the exhibition, and how these stencils were used to create the screen print that Deborah Workich created, called WUC, in English, Black Crow Dreaming. And this is of a dreaming site that is very important to Deb and her family, and indeed the Black Crow Dreaming has been printed here, and we can see the 4 stencils. The light grey with the first stencil was printed, the white ink was printed with that second stencil, the third stencil had yellow ink, and the 4th had the dark grey ink. And then at the end here on the right, we can see the 4th stencil print and how that image has been built up. So hopefully that gives a little insight into the printing process. The images are transferred onto what sometimes was called silk screen, but nowadays it's no longer silk, so it's a screen. And the screen is covered with an emulsion, which we can see up here. Raylene Miller from Gillamara showed me this process. Then she took the drawing of an artwork on a stencil. This is a small screen, but the principles are the same for the larger screens. She placed the stencil, the transparency, onto the screen. She, with the emulsion already on the screen, she placed a cloth, a tea towel in this instance, over the image. She takes it out into the sun and then lifts the tea towel to expose the image to the natural sunlight. And the area where the ink of the drawing is, the emulsion does not set, it blocks the sun. But the other area, the sun is able to reach the emulsion. So the emulsion is exposed to the sun. Then Raylene took the screen and washed away the emulsion underneath the ink that was not exposed to the sunlight to create the screen. And then here she has a screen. She's placing the ink on it and printing. And here is the print on a red skirt. So this is the principle of transferring an image using natural sunlight onto a screen. And here we see Ruben Mananku and Luke Nawrij printing the Many Cheeky Dogs design, and they're using a technique called a colour wave. And in this instance, they place various colours onto the screen, a bit like Neapolitan ice cream, and that way they get this lovely colour wave running through what is just a one stencil print. Alternatively, on the other side of the screen here, we can see colour waves, the 4 colour waves that one design can be printed in. So really it's up to the printer to determine the range of colourways that are used in relationship to the base cloth or the ground cloth and its colour. And so in this regard, we can have the same design, but it can be recreated in many different colour ways, and therefore different, creating just different versions, if you want, of that same print. This image is a really important image, and it's the first one that you will encounter at the beginning of the exhibition. It's printed on linen it's a design by a very senior artist, Don Namanja from Gumbalanya, and it's the image of Ngaliod, the rainbow serpent. And it is believed by many Aboriginal peoples in Australia that the continent of Australia was created by a serpent, and that the serpent was the creator of the lands, and therefore through its creation of land gave fecundity. And here we can see Billabong with the kangaroo and the long-necked turtle and the water lily and the catfish. And Namanja has created the serpent, showing the serpent encasing that billabong or waterhole, which is the place for foodstuffs that have nourished the Kunwinku people for, again, tens of thousands of years. And at this point, I'd like to introduce a video that was created in 2019. I was able to film it when I visited Inyaluk Arts, and it shows Selena and Lynn Najwo, their sisters, and Priscilla Badari printing this exact textile. And it shows you something of the process of printing large-scale repeated textiles.
Traveling in a brand new tropic on a beanie trail full of stories. I met a strange dollar, she made me nervous. She took me in and gave me money. And she said, we come from a land down under, where dollars smile and giving plunder. Can you hear that thunder? You better run, you better take cover. Buying back from a man in Darwin. He was 6'4", Nagi Muke. you back Monday. You come from London under, where colors smile and giving plunder. Can you get thunder? You better run, you better take the road. You better run, you better take the road. I'm not living and on it all go. I'm not living and on it red go. Oh. You come from London under, where colors smile and give it plunder. Can you get me that thunder? You better run, you better take the road. I met a man in their road, slept on, if not much to do.
So thank you very much to Selena and Lynn and Priscilla for allowing us to film them at work at Inyaluk Art Centre. In the exhibition, you will encounter seven videos in total that show something of the technique of printing. Every art centre has a slightly different way of working, and also they're interpreting different cultural iconography into their textiles, because as I mentioned before, they come from different cultural and linguistic groups. And so stylistically, their artwork is very determined by the region, the country on which they live, and the heritage that they've received from their ancestors, the cultural practices that have been passed down. So at this point, I'd like to go through the 5 art centres as you will encounter them when you walk through the exhibition. And the first art centre to meet is Tiwi Design, which was established in 1969. And this art centre is the first art centre to have begun screen printing on textiles in Australia. And with a 50-year tradition, it's really interesting to see how the cloth that's printed on the Tiwi Islands, and Tiwi Design is located here at Wurrumiungu on Bathurst Island in the Tiwi Islands. It's really interesting to see that over time, the printed cloth has become incorporated into local cultural practices. Screen printed skirts are worn by the women, as you can possibly see here in this image, as the women are preparing a fire for a smoking ceremony to welcome people to the island. Also, printed cloths are worn by men as they perform yoi, which are traditional dances, and the men wear nagas, a type of loincloth, which also is screen printed these days. Also, t-shirts are worn and many other objects are used by people on the Tiwi Islands, showing that the textiles are not just printed for the wider world, but they're also printed and used within the cultural settings themselves. This beautiful design is one which you will see in the exhibition. It is the Tutini pole designed by Bede Tungatalam, and it was created around 1985, and it depicts a Tutini pole, which you can see an image of one to the right. It is a type of grave marker that are created. They're carved by members of the deceased's family, and they're painted with patterns known as Jilamara and erected and left until they decay. And the Tutini pole is a very grand emblem of Tiwi culture, and also more recently, since the 1950s, Tutini poles have been made by Tiwi people also for sale in the art market. And so, but they continue to be used and made also for their original cultural purpose within the community. So this has a beautiful colour wave print. It's a one stencil print, but we see the gradation of colour in this lovely one stencil Tutini print. This black and white one stencil print is by another artist, Daniel Munkara, a very early design from Tiwi Designs that depicts the Kulama ceremony. And Kulama is a yam ceremony that customarily was held at the end of the wet season around February, March time, and also coincided with a period of initiation for young Tiwi men. And this stunning design is by the artist Jean Baptiste, a grand Tiwi artist who created this work in 1990. And again, this is a one stencil print, but using the colorway, it has lots of shifts and change and creates a depth of field, if you want, on the beautiful black fabric. Apuatimi, Jean Baptiste Apuatimi, is one of the most acclaimed Tiwi artists, and she lived through a period where she was painting of Jilamara. Jilamara means pattern, into many mediums of painting on bark, printing on paper, and indeed screen printing on cloth. The next art centre is Jilamara Arts and Crafts Association, located here on Milakarpiti on Melville Island in the Tiwi Islands. This design is created by Raylene Miller, also known as Jilamara, and it also speaks to the custom of body painting, which the Tiwi still practice. And using a very small comb, a wooden comb with maybe 6 to 10 prongs, the Raylene has placed that comb, known as a pwoja, into the ink in the first instance to create the pattern that she has placed onto the stencil, and then this has been printed. This is a 2 stencil design, and it's printed on the cream cloth, printed with the black and the red ink. And again, Jilamara meaning pattern in the Tiwi language. This work again is by Timothy Cook, another acclaimed Tiwi artist, and this is Timothy's very contemporary depiction of that Kulama ceremony, that yam ceremony, and the beautiful vibrancy of colour and the very gestural strokes with which he's depicted this are really typical of Timothy's work, who is a very acclaimed painter who paints with ochres on canvas predominantly. And the final textile from Jilamara that I wanted to share is this one by Jonathan Bush. It's called World Peace Tiwi Treaty, and it talks to the notion of treaty, which we do not yet have a treaty in Australia between our federal government and First Nations people. And so Jonathan's work is a call for treaty and a call for reconciliation to be formalised in the context of First Nations peoples in Australia. Inyaluk Arts and Crafts is located here at Gunbalanya. It's known colloquially as the Stone Country because it's escarpment country near the World Heritage listed Kakadu National Park. And indeed, Inyaluk is the name of a hill, which is where this photo is taken from, that looks back to the community. And at Inyaluk Hill, there are rock paintings some tens of thousands of years old. And so the rock art actually informs much of the work of the Kunwinku artists at Inyaluk Arts. Again, revisiting this work by Don Namanja, one of the key styles of artwork produced in the Stone Country of Gumbalanya is raak painting. And here, raak painting is the use of very fine lines. In this case, it's just one set of lines, but other times it can be cross-hatched, meaning that lines are built up on top of one another to form a cross-hatching pattern. So here we see the use of a raak technique, very different to that Jilamara technique from the Tiwis, and also retrieving iconography from the nearby rock art sites. This work of Namarokon, the lightning spirit, shows is here on the table just after it's been printed, before it was acquired by the Fowler Museum and taken back to Los Angeles. And here in the image alongside the textile, we can see some of the rock art sites of Inyaluk Hill, which is where this image of Namarokon, the lightning spirit, originates from. The women at Inyaluk also, though, are great weavers. The men love to paint in that raak technique, and the women are fabulous fibre artists. And to that end, they designed this beautiful textile design, which depicts manjabu, the fish trap that is used in the plains of the rock country, which is where fish and foodstuffs are collected using these fish traps in the waterholes and billabongs. And interesting, at Inyaluk, the women often work together and collaborate together in creating designs. And here are the women of Inyaluk Arts wearing beautiful screen-printed aprons in the screen print studio. The fourth centre is Bapara Women's Centre, located here in Maningrida in north central Arnhem Land. Bapara is the name of a waterhole in that region, and they're a really vibrant, amazing group of artists at Bapara Women's Centre, which began originally as a women's refuge, but now is world known for the beautiful textiles that are printed there. This textile design, Kunrong Freshwater Story, was created by Jennifer Workich. This stunning textile shows the barramundi, the long-necked turtle, the water lilies that Jennifer and her family go and collect using digging sticks, and that they go to the fresh water as a source of foodstuffs. And this beautiful design, which consists of 3 stencils, has been used also as a form of wallpaper that now adorns the Fowler lobby. So when you enter the museum, you will see Jennifer's beautiful Kunrong design decorating the walls, as well as you'll have a chance to see it in the Bapara Women's section of the exhibition. This beautiful design is by Jennifer's sister, Deborah Workich, a very acclaimed artist, and this relates to York and the water lilies that are common. And there's a belief that the York reside in the waters for the Kuninku people, and that if you sit there calmly and quietly enough, the York will come and appear, and that's quite a blessing. Although sometimes the York, might come with not always with the best intentions, so she can be a bit playful as well. So be careful of the York. We're very honoured to have this design as the hero image for the exhibition on our exhibition poster and banners. And this is an insight into studio, the acclaimed artist Susan Marawa, who has several works in our exhibition. This shows Susan with a beautiful print of her design, Manjabu, a fish trap, and her father was a very acclaimed maker of fish traps. And so Susan has a beautiful design in the exhibition, a beautiful print of this design in the exhibition as well. The final and fifth art centre is Maripin Arts. Maripin is located over here in the community called Nayu, in what's known as the Daly River region, and this is the mighty Daly River, which runs through this amazing country. It's a lot of wetlands and floodplains in this country, and virtually every year there's a flood. The Daly River breaks its banks. Accordingly, billabongs, waterholes, are very popular, very common in this area. And Christina Yambine created this beautiful, complex 5-screen print of the billabong with the red lotus flowers that are another form of sustenance for the Nungi peoples that live in this region. Another acclaimed artist, Marita Sambono, who is one of the senior artists at Merapen, depicted this beautiful design called Dagum. It relates to a site that she is the custodian of and where there's hot water springs. And so the steam, this depicts the fog and the steam emerging from the wetlands over the beautiful country that Marina is responsible for caring for, and her descendants will continue to care for after she has left us. And the final image of a textile is indeed this beautiful design by Kiran Karatpool, who is a very prolific artist and a young artist from Merapen, who's really making a fabulous name for himself, both as a textile artist and as a painter. Kiran's really accomplished, and he appears in one of the videos in the exhibition. You'll meet many of the artists in those videos that I've already mentioned, and Kiran will show you something of his beautiful country and talk a little bit about his mother, who is a very accomplished weaver, and he created this design basket that is in memory of a beautiful basket that she made for him and that many of the Nungi women made for their children when they were first born. So that concludes the 5 sections that you'll meet in the exhibition. There's a beautiful book that features Kiran's beautiful basket design on the cover that we've created that accompanies the exhibition and provides more insight into the exhibition. And I wanted to conclude with this image, which shows something of the way in which textiles also work their way out into the broader world as fashion, as garments, as interior design. And you will encounter some little modules throughout the exhibition that talk a little bit to how the textiles actually, what their agency is out in the broader world, and indeed being presented through exhibitions such as the one you will see at the Fowler Museum, Screen-Printed Textiles from Australia's top end. So at this point, I'd like to conclude by thanking all the artists again whose work is in the exhibition and for their contribution working with me on the development of the exhibition, and also thanks to Nadine Lee, who contributed as an intern to the project. And thank you very much to all the different people that have supported the exhibition, both with their generosity of financial and in-kind support, and a very big thank you to all of the colleagues that I have enjoyed working with at the Fowler Museum for their dedication in bringing this exhibition to you. And it's my hope that each and every one of you will get a chance to visit the exhibition and enjoy the magnificent Aboriginal screen-printed textiles from Australia's top end. Thank you.
A big thank you to Joanna for pre-recording that presentation for us. We hope that this program has whet your appetites and that those of you who are able will come to the Fowler to see this exhibition, which again opens this Sunday, December 5th and runs through June 19th. This program has been recorded and will be available immediately on our Facebook, and in a few days it will be uploaded to our Instagram onto the Fowler website as well for you to revisit and share. We hope you'll join us for our next program. Details can be found on the closing slide. In the meantime, have a great weekend and we'll see you next time. Bye.